Welcome to the Executorium podcast. I'm host Bill Gross at Bill Gross Probate. And we get together and interview the various resources available on the Executorium directory. Today in Sonoma County, California, famous for its wine, just like fine wine gets better with age, so do some realtors, and one of them is Bernie Stephan. Bernie, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. Could just point out that I pronounce it Stephan.
Stephan, I knew I was going to get it wrong once I started, but here in LA, there's a big plumber, Jack Stephan, and people say Stephan, Stephan. So I should have got that right. So Bernie Stephan, well, thanks so much. I know we've met over the years on online and such. So give me your background. You're a real estate broker, and you're in, I think, Marin and Sonoma County.
I am, and my background really starts as a second career. My first career was in IT for 30 years,
Wow.
and that had me in the latter stages traveling too much. I went to something local, so I became an appraiser and then a real estate broker, and then I bought a couple Remax franchises and grew a brokerage.
Wow.
And then I collapsed that, and then I created Eco Realty that was ecologically focused. And over time, I've recognized there's another part of the market that makes sense for me, and that is the more complex parts, where it's not just about selling a house, but it's about dealing with people that are in a space that is new to them, complex, often stressful. And, I feel like that's an area that I can bring to bear other attributes that I feel I've, gathered over the years.
So, talk a little bit about the difference of how you experience the difference of a real estate transaction when there is an estate or an executor involved. What are the differences for you as a practitioner that you're paying attention to?
Yeah, first let me make a generalization. Obviously, it's not always true, but as realtors, we're always eager to get going. So when we get someone in contact with them and we'd like to move it forward, let me evaluate your property. Let's figure out what the market's doing right now. What are you interested in doing? And so it's a lot of focus about what are you ready for now? As we deal with the more challenging life transitions, like when you're a successor trustee for a trust, or if you're a personal representative for a probate, you're working the will, you're whatever, handling the estate. The idea of moving quickly on the real estate doesn't really fit in with all that you have to consider. So one of the things as a realtor, I think I need to resist is the notion of how can I help you in the real estate realm, and back up a little bit. How can I help you in the execution of the responsibility, the role that you're in right now, which often real estate is a major component, but it's not the first component. The first component, of course, is you're grieving. You've been subjected to some transition in life that you hadn't maybe planned on, don't have much experience with. And so that is what we need to help with first and foremost. And the real estate, of course, is a competency, but it doesn't come front and center.
And so, it sounds like patience and listening are key parts of this, right?
They are. And that's something I'm learning better as I get older.
I think we all are. I think that's part of life is to learn. I think as you get older, you learn that it's about the relationship, not about the transaction, and that takes patience and listening both. Um,
Yes.
so, talk about maybe the difference of doing real estate in Sonoma and Marin County versus the rest of the country. What do you think is unique about your market that people who are maybe out of state and have a property they're inheriting or they're managing for a trust or an estate may not be aware of? What's different about your market?
Well, first of all, it's part of the Bay Area and it's expensive.
Mm,
So in Marin County, we're, at a median price of 2 million. In Sonoma, it's a little over a million. So for some other parts of the country, that sounds like a lot of money. And of course, it is a lot of money.
right.
And that is and it's still a seller's market in that homes don't stay on the market very long. There's a high demand for these specialty properties that are very desirable. And when something is made desirable or is innately desirable, there's lots of competition for it and it moves quickly. So we just have to understand what the local current real estate market is. And it's been that way for a while. And even though interest rates are high right now, uh, buyers that might be able to afford other parts of California often don't even consider Marin or Sonoma. What we've had a history of over time is when COVID hit, for example, a lot of people working in San Francisco and then living in San Francisco because they needed to go in the office quite a bit. But when they realized that with COVID, maybe that was reduced to once a week, then they felt they could make the commute over the Golden Gate Bridge and live further out and be less urban and be more suburban or even rural residential is very appealing when you have the internet connection to let you still do your work.
So, as you know, Executorium is a service oriented towards executors and give them a chance to kind of be at the center of the process, but give them resources to be effective. One of the traits I find of successful realtors is we tend to be a Rolodex of people, services, and vendors that we've tested and tried along the way. So, I know that you're on the directory. Some of the vendors you have are not. Speak to maybe vendors you work with through the course of your business. What types of vendors have you brought to your customers, and why might those vendors consider adding themselves for free to the Executorium directory?
Well, it generally boils down to first and foremost, are you working with an attorney or are you trying to do it yourself per se? And I know tools to help you per se, but in most cases, you want to be working with an attorney that is familiar with administering a trust or administering the process through probate, helping with all the legal possibilities and intricacies of that. So that is an important realm for me to know attorneys that specialize in this, and I do in both counties. And they're different courts in Marin and Sonoma County, each have their own probate court. And generally, people are more, as attorneys, more focused on their local court. And then accountants are important for people to have, and some financial advisors. And then we get into the other skills of that there are some more regional and national services that you can tap into. For example, if you're getting started and you want to make sure that you give notice to all of the government and other institutions that the deceased had memberships with or had accounts with, how to sort of manage that. And there are services that you can call on and they can remotely help you in that process. So it's not just about local vendors, although that's a big part of it. It's also with these bigger resources of people that I have met from your webinars, Bill, and you've been a mentor to me, whether you know it or not, because as I've been learning more about supporting the administrators of probate or trust, I've been doing a lot of listening to webinars of all kinds. And in that process, I'm building up a database, a Rolodex essentially. Although it's in my phone, it's in my contacts under different lists. So I have a list for almost every category of whether it's a stager, photographer, contractor, specialty, and a mover. It's an exhaustive list, but I can go to that and then I can remember the various people that are in that. I don't really keep in touch with all of them all the time, but I do work on that Rolodex, if you will, of people that allow me to offer what can be called concierge service. Is there some problem that you're trying to address? Let me help you with some people that can help you deal with that. It might be dealing with your driveway and doing that quickly. It might be little things, or it might be you need help with dealing the personal property, and who are liquidators that can help with this, and what kind of a situation are we in? Are we in high end and and dealing with arts and things that should ultimately go to auction, or are we dealing with things that you want to bid on that somebody buys all completely? So the various liquidators are not all the same. They have different programs. And
Correct.
so it really ultimately boils down to what's your situation? What can I help with? And there's a lot I can help with. So that's my vague answer. If you want to be
Good.
drilling down
Good.
on that, please go.
Well,
Yeah.
let's get those vendors onto the executorium directory as well, so they can promote themselves to other people. But obviously, anybody who's in the business, anybody who's in the need for help in those areas, calling Bernie for service in Marin and Sonoma County, you're going to get the benefit of his wisdom and experience. Bernie, if someone wants to get a hold of you, the best way is marinsonomaprobate.com. Is that your best
Yes, it is. And the new
website?
one will be berniestephan.com.
Oh, how
So, but
nice.
the old one will point you there. It'll redirect you there. So, Marin Sonoma Probate. I also have a website called marinsonoma.com, which is where I've had my listings that then point to the other website that is more about informing on the specialty.
Got it.
And within that, I have 4 books that I offer. You can read the ebooks, or you can ask for a printed copy sent your way. I have a blog where I posted lots of articles, and mostly on probate at this point, but I'm expanding that to articles that deal with divorce, that deal with senior downsizing, that are helpful, I think, if you cruise your way through them to see what does the title say that you might want to learn something about. And then in the new process, I will be having a lot more of my videos. I have a YouTube channel called Broker Bernie, and that is a bit dated right now, but I'm setting myself up to do, as you're doing, more live streaming now, and then
Good.
recording, and then be having those put into shorts and the longer ones posted on YouTube, of course. So Broker Bernie is a channel on YouTube. On Facebook, I have a business page called Eco Realty, and then there's my websites. And so a lot of that is in development now, because I've gone from fairly narrowly focused on probate to a little broader, dealing with people that are needing time to grieve while they work to make the best of the situation that they find themselves in.
And of course, we can find you on the Executorium podcast. If you go there, the Executorium service provider directory, and if you go into Sonoma County, California, Sonoma, and hit search, it'll bring you down to real estate agents, and there's Echo Realty, and Bernie has his information there, phone number, and so on. Executorium is a great resource for executors. You have a directory of service providers, counties across the country, government resources. We can get forms, information on filing, various legal matters that are required, and then great articles and learning information. And I think for professionals as well, great source of social media posts that you can comment on, add to your social media program as well. Both the articles and the learnings offer great opportunities there. So, Bernie, thanks again for being on the Executorium podcast. Thanks for your support of our program, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Well, thank you, Bill. I consider it an honor, and I definitely want to help you in this effort, because I know that sometimes it's hard for people to find someone locally that can
Mm-hmm.
help them. You've been there for California as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
but of course, you're most helpful in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And we here in the Bay Area, I can't help people beyond 2 counties. But I like
Yeah.
having a facility like Executorium, where, and right now for my counties, it's not well populated yet. So the idea of encouraging those service providers is definitely a great idea.
Well, great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being there. And again, for the rest of you, I'm Bill Gross at Bill Gross Probate. This is Executorium Podcast. Executorium.com is the website. All kinds of resources. You have a vendor directory, you have government resources, and great educational information. I'm at Bill Gross Probate on social media. If I can help you, make today your best day ever.